Indie Case Files is a production of Inked Geek Studios. Get this and other great shows at inkgeekstudios.com. To help support Indie Case Files and Inked Geek Studios, go to patreon.com/igstudios. As little as $1 a month can help this show and other great content. Thank you very much. Even in the corporate world of AAA video game development, some developers wish to keep the love and passion for gaming alive. What follows is a sea of games designed and published by small studio developers. Some bad, some good. We'll help you decide. This is Indie Case Files, and these are their games.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to Indie Case Files, the show about indie games, and the ones we like and the ones we don't. I am your host, Amy Frost, and I'm joined by my co-host and good friend, Nate Ward. Nate, how are you?
Well, I'm here.
Wow, thanks. That's great.
No, I'm good. I'm good. It's episode 2.
Which should be half as bad as 1.
One would think.
If I've done the math right. I don't think I've done the math right.
It's a much more lighthearted game on this week's episode.
Yeah.
And
I picked this one too.
You did. Did we
Good time.
collectively pick the first one? I don't remember because we had picked it so far back.
I have no idea. I think you said, "Hey, we could do this one," and I said, "Yeah, sounds good." And then we did it.
And then you played a game that gives you nightmares.
I did. I'm such a pussy. That's why. I'm scared of everything. It's stupid. That was bad the other night, though. That was real bad.
You're like, would you go insane in the game? And then it drove you insane in real life?
Yeah. Seems
Basically.
good. Seems good. It's a credit to the game, I suppose.
Yeah. No, I would say that. So if you guys are wondering what game we're talking about there, it is Don't Starve Together. So check out episode 1 where we talked about that game. But that is not the game we are doing this week.
No. This week it is Guacamelee, which is legitimately one of the first indie games that I was like really aware was an indie game. I saw it at PAX East in their indie showcase years and years and years and years and years ago. And yeah, I kind of fell in love with it there. And so I figured it'd be a good one for us to talk about. I figured it was one that you needed to play. That was kind of why I picked it.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. It's not... I didn't know what to expect going in. And I certainly didn't expect it to be as ridiculous as it is. I suppose I should have with the name.
You should have.
But it was over the top ridiculous. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was full of surprises, full of chickens.
Yes. And
I'm kind of surprised. I mean, anyone that knows me, and I might have even mentioned this last week. I know I've mentioned it on other shows I've been on. I'm much more of a AAA guy than I am an indie guy, which was kind of the big reason behind starting this show and having you come on as the co-host, because you are very indie inclined, whereas I am very like, here's $100, here's the game, here's the season pass. Like, give me my big budget. I mean, hell, we've got like 26 hours until Destiny 2 comes out, which I will be playing the love out of. So, but I'm kind of surprised I had never stumbled across this. It originally came out in April of 2013. So the game is coming up. It's almost on that 5-year mark, age-wise.
Yeah.
It was originally on the PlayStation 3, the Xbox 360. It was on the Wii U as well. So the game has definitely been around, and there was the original version of the game, and then there was the Gold Edition. And then now you were playing the Gold Edition, okay. And then I was playing the Super Turbo Championship Edition.
Yes.
Which apparently has all the DLC from the Gold Edition, as well as there's 2 new areas in the Super Turbo Edition. There's the Canal of Flowers and the Fiery Volcano. There's a boss called the Trio of Death, which is a 3-headed skeletal boss that is not in the previous versions. There's Intenso Combat Mode, which is the coolest thing ever. And there's other. I mean, you get chicken bombs, an independent dimension swapping, and then it adds some more Steam stuff too. Like I think it gives the Steam creators a little bit more options when it comes to like skins and things like that.
Right.
So, but I mean, the base game is the same. So I mean, we do have that difference between again the gold and the super turbo. But I mean, ultimately, it's just a mess of Mexican influenced ridiculousness.
That is very true. So, unlike our previous game, this one actually has a story. And in your small village in Mexico, Juan Aguacate is a humble agave farmer who is in love with El Presidente's daughter. When an evil charro skeleton named Carlos Calaca attacks the village and kidnaps El Presidente's daughter, Juan is killed by Carlos and during his attempt to stop him and winds up in the land of the dead. There, a mysterious luchador named Tostada gives Juan a mysterious mask that transforms him into a powerful luchador and brings him back to the world of the living. It is now up to Juan to stop Carlos from sacrificing El Presidente's daughter in a ritual that will allow him to take both the living and the dead worlds. And judging by my performance, he is going to succeed. So the first time that I played this game was on a console, and like I've been playing it on PC with a keyboard and a mouse, and that is a different and significantly more difficult scenario.
I was curious as to what the dynamic was there, because I mean I was using the Xbox One controller on the PC, so I was getting that. You don't have that.
No.
So
I do not.
So how do the keyboard mouse controls translate on a game that is clearly designed for console?
It's not awful. So you're moving with your arrow keys, and then all of your abilities are tied to like the WASD.
Okay.
So getting that into my head in the beginning, because I'm used to moving with WASD, was a little trickier. But I mean, it's very forgiving when you fail. You just go back and start over. Like there's no load time, there's no wait screen. It just puts you back in there and says, "All right, do it again."
Yeah, no, for sure. I run into that sometimes going back, like with my streaming, like if I do like my retro nights and things like that, if I go and play like one of the old school Fallouts or things like that. And the reason that comes to mind is because currently I'm playing XCOM 2, and you have that. So where, I mean, there's no mouse involved, or there's very minimal mouse involved, because we didn't have the mice back in the 90s that we have now. Yeah. And your map movement or your character movement is your arrow keys. But in modern gaming, and that's why you see things like the Razer, it's not the Tarantula, but it's something like that, where it's like the half keyboard, right? So you have because in most modern gaming, your right hand is locked to your mouse, and your left hand never goes much further east than like G and H. Yeah. So that whole side of the keyboard is gone, and so using those, anytime you get a game that uses some sort of movement either in the numpad or with the arrows, it always screws me up, because like my hand should be on the mouse. Yeah, it took a little bit of getting used to, and I'm still not good at I am good at neither platformers nor fighting games. So the fact that I even enjoy this game at all is surprising, but it's too much fun. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. It's also like it tries to be complex, but it gives you a very large window of, because it does have that fighting game technique, and I like it when you go in to fight certain things, like it pulls up like the Fight Night screen, which is kind of cool. Yeah. But I mean, you can. I mean, I didn't get too far. I got slightly past where you get the Intenso. Now I'm wondering where that comes out in and the difference in the two versions. because so you go in, you enter the castle, this dragon storms out of the castle. It's really funny. I was playing on stream, and Thaldros, I'll give him a shout out. He's one of the regulars in my Twitch channel, and he was hanging out with me while I was playing it and watching me play. And I was going up this castle, and there's this giant dragon, and I had to do this thing, and then the dragon breaks out of the castle. Right? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Okay, so I get ready to leave the castle, and I'm like, well, wait a second. Maybe something unlocked where the dragon went. And I go back, and I climb all the way back up, and I'm like, oh, okay, so the dragon went, and I jump, and I died. I'm like, oh, I guess there's nothing there. It's a castle. He must have flown away. Yeah. And then I loved that when you go and actually defeat that dragon, it's Mario. Like, you have to jump over him, you hit the key, and then the boss lady says, like, your something is in another castle. I think she says princess because he's
it's the Presidente's daughter.
So yeah, and I liked those kind of hints and pokes at other games and things like that. But it's very loose with its controls. It gives you all these different things that you can do. It gives you all these combos, and you go in and do your training with. And I know there's the goat, but then there's the chicken that teaches you all the different moves, and like he gives you all these amazing combos. Like it's like translating to controller, it's like up and X hits them in the air, and then you can jump in the air, and then like do X 3 times and B, and you juggle them in the air, and that's really cool.
Or you can just spam punch.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fine.
Yeah, and most of your moves hit everything in range, and if not, then you get one to the point where he's stunned and you throw him and it hits everybody.
Everybody else.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if as the game progresses, you need to do certain things. Now, in the Super Turbo Edition, it said that there's independent dimensional shifting. Yeah. So do you, in the gold version, do you shift from the World of the Dead to the...
What I think that is for, because this does have multiplayer, but it's only couch co-op. There is no online multiplayer. So I think what that is for multiplayer. So if you shift from living to dead, your teammate can shift independently.
Okay. All right. So those portals are still in the gold edition.
Yes.
Okay, as I say, because I think a lot of the puzzles rely on those portals.
Yep, absolutely they do. I like that they refer to this as a Metroidvania style game. Like, that's pretty solid. I mean, no one that was born after, like, 1995 has any idea what Metroidvania means, but, the rest of us do. Which, it's cool, and I do, like I said, I liked that very forgiving. Like, if you die, it just puts you back and you just go again. Like, there's no, like, death screen. There's no, like, you lose. There's no, like, whatever. It's like, all right, here we go again.
Right.
Like,
there's no light.
Chased by that giant dragon to get out of the building, and I didn't make it past there.
Right. Yeah, there's no life counter or anything like that.
Yeah, no, you just go.
And
falling is fine. Like, if you fall in a pit, like, it just puts you back. He goes, nope, try again. Nope, you missed that jump. Nope, do it again.
Now, I talked about the combat and how the combat seems simple. One thing I did notice about the game, and I'm sure that this gets more complex as you go, is the levels are very puzzle-like.
Yes.
Like, one of my favorite spots in the game that I've played up to so far is where you have to jump from wall to wall once you get your wall slide.
Yep.
And you have to line it up with the portals because as you go from the world of the dead to the world of the living, certain platforms appear and disappear as well as certain walls. So you're basically
so you have to,
jumping,
jump back and forth through it,
right?
And know that wall's going to be there when you get there. Hopefully, if you did it right. Yeah, that's fun. I like a good puzzle game, and so like there would be a couple points where like I would know what I had to do.
Right.
Getting the keys to cooperate was a little trickier, but yeah, no, I like it. It's got a little bit of that sort of Portal mentality of like, how do you get from here to there?
Right, and I like it when puzzles are designed that way. Like, if you look at your classic puzzle games, like, I guess classic, depending on your sense of the word classic, but in my mind for PC, like you go back to like the Ages of Mist and things like that, or even going further back, like your Legend of Carandia games, where your puzzles are finding items and figuring out how they work together or where they fit into the literal puzzle. Those are fun. But I much prefer the level itself is a puzzle and I have to figure out how to, like, one of my favorite tablet games is Monument Valley.
Yep.
Where you have the perspective switching. And I'm excited to play the second one, which I guess is already out.
Yeah.
And it's you're there's no items, there's no nothing. It's solving the level. And whereas this doesn't have that complexity, it's still a matter of solving the level. Like, again, you have to time the portals right. You have to line everything up correctly. There was a couple areas where there was one that I actually couldn't solve in that castle. There was a room that you go into that had like a couple living realm walls, a couple dead realm walls. And you would go in and like you had to jump through the portals, but I couldn't figure the room out. I was guessing I was still missing an ability and I'd have to revisit the castle later.
Right, because that's the other thing is that it changes based on your abilities. So like when you're running through the forest in order to get to the castle, there are all of these red blocks, and you don't have the ability that you need to smash them. It's not till later when you go and you learn that like slam ability that then you can go back and you can access new areas, which is cool. So it's not like a super huge map. I mean, it's pretty expansive for what it is, but what a bigger part of it is that you go back over the same areas, but because you have different abilities now, you're able to go into different sections, which
Right.
is cool. You're like, oh yeah, I remember that block was there. Right.
I would have to say that my only real complaint about the game is the lack of online multiplayer, which I know we had this conversation because when we were trying to track down the game for next week's episode, it's like when it comes to indie, sometimes that online multiplayer can be difficult.
Right. Yeah. Doing network programming is like, it's a next step up.
Right.
And not only that, but like having the server support, you know what I mean? Like that's something that you have to deal with. So if you don't have a company that's going to do that for you, like that's another expense, which for a small developer is a lot.
Right. Well, I mean, something like this, I think could easily be done peer to peer. Like I think somebody could do something functional because that's how Don't Starve worked.
Right.
And I'm sure that's how several of them work. I mean, before Minecraft got huge, that's how Minecraft worked. You would host a server.
Right.
And then add that to the fact that the company was founded back in '08. So the company's not all that young.
Right.
And if anything, I would have thought at the very least that would have been the big draw for the Super Turbo Championship Edition was the inclusion of online multiplayer. Because you've got your games. I mean, you have several notable indie companies that. I mean, look at Behemoth. I mean, their first big one was Castle Crashers, right? Was that their first?
I think so. That was the first big one.
Yeah.
Which is referenced in this game.
So
I don't know if you saw it. There was like art on one of the walls.
Oh, was there?
Or one of the luchador posters, and they were very clearly Castle Crashers. I forget what they called them, but it was a Castle Crashers reference.
Right. We have a quick question in the chat. What are the costs involved with having a server hosting your game? I mean, on the larger scale, I have no idea. I know when it comes to on the personal side, like just if I wanted to host a server, it depends on the game, but I mean, they're upwards of anywhere between like $20 and a couple $100 a month for a single server. So, I mean, obviously when it comes to the business end, you'd end up signing a deal with somebody and some sort of management there. But again, I think something like this, I think it would be a peer-to-peer thing, and that would just require that somebody hopefully knew how to open their ports. But yeah, I mean, I know right now the big hitter for servers, now that it's gone full release, I'm not 100% sure, but I know Arc for a while, and the smallest server you could get away with was 24 users, and it was like $2.50 a user, gameservers.com. So, but yeah, I mean, again, but costs on personal and corporate are totally different. But again, the peer-to-peer thing is very possible. We do it with a lot of things. I mean, we do it with big games. That's what Ubisoft gets trashed on for a lot, because you've got games like For Honor that in concept are great, but they rely on peer-to-peer. Battlefield 1 has servers, but Call of Duty still does local hosting. So, I mean, it's definitely a tactic that's still used, but like Amy had said, for coding that for a small developer, depending on where they're aiming at, could be an expensive task.
Yeah. I mean, I see what they were going for. Like they were going for that, like that retro couch co-op thing. And because it's not like everything's very contained.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's, it's not like some of the other games where you're never going to do split screen. Like you're all always in the same place. The one thing I wonder, I wonder if some of the puzzles are easier to solve if you have two people. Like if you're not doing the independent dimension switching.
Right. I don't know. Because I'm wondering, I mean, that could be like maybe that particular puzzle that I saw was locked behind a multiplayer wall.
Right.
Because
no, it absolutely could be.
I don't know if you know the room that I was trying to reference, but so there was a wall that was in the living, and then you would go through the portal, that wall would disappear, so then you could jump up. But then there was this giant wall, and the living end of the wall had the green slime on it, so you couldn't wall climb it.
Right.
So you had to get to the dead side to get the living wall to disappear, and then the dead wall right behind it to appear, which you could climb. But there was no, I mean, from what I saw, without without a different ability, there was no way. So maybe that was a multiplayer puzzle. So that would be cool to see, getting in there and, trying to see what puzzles exist for the sake of multiplayer. And I wonder if there are more like that, or if that was even the case. Maybe I just suck.
Yeah. Maybe we just couldn't figure it out. Oh, yeah. But, yeah, and I feel like the combat gets a little crazy with multiplayer too, just because there's a lot of like bad guys flying around.
Do you know if it increases the spawn rate?
I'm not positive. I think it does.
I mean, I would assume it would have to.
Yeah. I love that one puzzle where there was like 6 skeleton guys and you just kept walking back and forth between the 2 portals and they just fell. It was the best. It's like, this is easier than you think it is.
Yeah, there was a couple of the mobs that you had to fight that I found to be pretty interesting, like the little I don't know what you'd call them, the little tiki looking dudes with the big spears.
Yeah, the ones that would spin.
Yeah, those are cool.
Yep.
And then there was the big dude that you had to jump up and punch, and there were mechanics as more complex enemies were introduced, which I again enjoyed. It became less button mashing. But it got to the point where there's a rhythm. And that was the flaw of older games. And this is certainly designed in that retro style as well,
right?
Where it's just kind of that platformer. But they were all coded either with some sort of rhythm or algorithm or some sort of, there was some pattern that you could get, I mean, so once you kind of figured that out, it's not like there's an AI built into it for them to learn and for them to go against you intelligently, like it's
right.
So I mean, but again, it's one of those things where you find the patterns and go. But no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And and this is the second week in a row where we've had an indie game that feels very fleshed out and feels polished in the way it means to be, and it's definitely entertaining. I mean, I have my few indies that are favorites of mine that I could play over and over, with like the things of like Binding of Isaac and Broforce and stuff like that I just find incredibly fun to play over and over again. And this is definitely on that list now.
Yeah. Yeah, there's and I mean, like, there's a ton of side quests and stuff that, I mean, I barely got into, but like one of the villages, the mariachi band is missing one of their players. Yep. There's a guy who wants you to round up all his chickens. There are a lot of chickens.
There's a way to be a chicken. I guess you unlock like with those side quests, you get silver.
Right.
And then you can use those silver to buy. Now, is the silver in?
Yes.
Okay, because one of the things that it did say about the Super Turbo thing is that there was a dual currency system that supported permanent unlocks. So I don't know if that was new for the Gold Edition or if it was new for the Super Turbo Edition.
I think permanent editions, because the other thing that it adds is multiple saves.
Okay.
So I think the permanent unlocks will let you use whatever it is you unlock in all of your saves.
I see.
Whereas the Gold Edition only has the one, so it doesn't really matter.
Okay. That makes sense then. But yeah, there's a chicken suit, I guess, and you can lay chicken bombs with your chicken suit.
Amazing.
Again,
it's ridiculous. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's so good. The music is outstanding. It's the greatest mariachi from your favorite Mexican restaurant.
It is so stereotypical.
It's so good.
And so wonderful for that reason.
Yes.
What was I looking at that I was gonna... I don't know. Yeah, chickens. Lots of chickens. So yeah, I mean, we've basically covered the overview. We love the look. It's obviously fun.
Yeah.
The story, I had no idea where they were going at first, and then it's like he dies instantly and comes back, and then he's like super. What's the word I'm looking for? What is it?
Luchador?
Thank you.
That's the word you're looking for?
Yeah, all I could think of was Nacho Libre.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great too. There's one village where you're like running through town and there's all these other luchadors and there's like El Baño and he's got like a toilet head and like they're ridiculous, so good. So good.
It's certainly over the top.
Yeah.
And it does it, but it doesn't do it in a way where like you don't roll your eyes at how cheesy it is. Like
No.
it's over the top
No,
in a
it's
way that
supposed to be-
you appreciate the entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love the art style. I think it's very like Samurai Jack, like that kind of two-dimensional paper cut kind of look to it. Which is really cool because I mean like that's a big Mexican thing. Like they do a lot of those like paper cut banners and stuff like that. So like it really fits the theme really well. It's so awesome.
Yeah, I don't know how well the game would have worked with any other type of art style.
Right, exactly. It would have like if they'd tried to make it look more I don't know, real. Like I don't think they could have.
No, I
No,
don't.
it
I don't
had to
think
be
it would have.
Cartoony.
Yeah. So, in the amount of time that you had played it,
Yes.
what's your standout moment?
So it's really good at like I don't know, it's very rewarding when you finally succeed at something that you were failing at. Like because it's a puzzle game, like sometimes you can get it wrong, and especially like trying to do it with keyboard and mouse, which keyboard. It happened a lot. So like there was one puzzly bit and it was a lot of like wall jumping and then like fight a dude and then wall jump some more and then fight different dudes and like I died a bunch, but it's never a big deal, right? Like it's just like, all right, well, let's try that again. And then you finish and it's like really satisfying. Like I think that was kind of the big thing for me. It was like finally getting that puzzle together and you're like, all right, that's good. And then you loop back around the wrong way and you have to do it all over again.
I really enjoyed how the movement through the abilities was part of the puzzles.
Yes.
I thought that was fun. And that being said, the moments that stick out, or the moment that sticks out, is when you are in the castle and there is the two platforms and there's the portal under each platform, and one of the platforms is living, one of them's dead. And you have to basically go up to the edge of the platform and then drop from the platform into the portal to switch the dimension. And then right when you hit the portal, you have to do your jumping uppercut to get to the next one.
To get back.
And there were a couple like that. There was
a
couple movements. And again, as the game progresses and you get more abilities, and I can only assume more of them involve different types of movement.
Right.
Like there's one that I didn't get yet, which was the one where you hit downward.
Right.
Because there was a couple areas that I couldn't get to. I think those were the yellow blocks, right? Or were they? Yeah. Because
the green.
Was it
green?
Green? Maybe it was green because the red ones were the jump ones, right?
Yeah, I think the yellow ones were the head
headbutt
slam
ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
So man, there were one of those that took me a little while because it's like hit the button while you're not moving.
Right. So that whole like running from the dragon, trying to smash bricks, and that was a complete failure for me. Like I died a lot.
Yeah, I liked how even if you were somebody who was good at running from it, there were parts where it locked you back. Like you had to
wait for it, and so now like you could never get too far ahead.
Right, which I think was a cool mechanic to put in because you can just get far enough ahead and it doesn't matter.
Right.
So they keep you.
You could never be far enough ahead. That it didn't matter.
They keep you in that suspense, which is cool. But I'm certain that there are more puzzles further on in the game that, like, again, the downward punch or whatever it ends up being out. It's probably some sort of drop kick or elbow drop, perhaps. But yeah, no, I mean those are, again, were definitely the fun moments, the parts where the fighting was part of the puzzle.
Yeah, because bad guys can be in either realm too. So that was always fun. Like there was one where it was like a whole mess of guys and like half of them were in the living realm and half of them were dead. And you kind of had to like flip back and forth or prioritize and try not to die in the meantime.
Right. Because they were shadowed. So you'd have to go back and forth.
Yep.
Man, when they introduced the armadillos, those were...
and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, you can't dodge that. Oh.
Right. Yeah, you had to kind of... Yeah, because even the... that was another part that we didn't mention too. And again, I'm sure there's more of them further on in the game where you had the thorns. and
Yep.
you had to jump and like do
You
your
have to,
dodge.
do the roll and
Yeah.
then jump at the end and uppercut and leap over and yeah.
There was a whole lot to it.
Yeah, it was awesome though. It was
I
good.
I did indeed enjoy it.
Good.
It was quite a bit of fun. And again, that's part of the reason for loving the idea of this show is because you run into these indie titles that are, I mean, again, this one's been out for almost 5 years, but
Yep.
I had never came across it. So
I knew with your penchant for wrestling that you had to play this one. I was like, wait, this is gonna be a good one.
it was indeed fun. Maybe now I'll just get you to play Fire Pro Wrestling, which is the independent actual wrestling game that's out on Steam.
We could talk about it.
So I would definitely say I recommend it. If you're a fan of platformers, if you're a fan of over-the-top humor, and just fun, goofy, fast-paced combat, like pick it up. It's now I had mine gifted to me. How much is the game? Is it 15? It probably says in the show notes. No, I didn't include the price in the show notes this week.
Oh man. Definitely not looking it up right now. Guacamelee Super Turbo Edition is $15.
Okay, so $15. I'm
$20 if you want the complete edition.
which I'm guessing comes
Which
with a
just has a
soundtrack.
soundtrack.
Yeah. Hey, it's a great soundtrack.
It's a great soundtrack.
I might do that and put it on my Apple Music and
Yes.
drive down the highway with my over the top stereotypical mariachi music cranked.
Perfect.
I like to do that with game soundtracks. I like to do that with like find the mood for them. Like when I was in my high school years, we used to do like the 2 a.m. drives to Walmart.
Yeah.
And back then it was the Diablo 2 soundtrack. And I tell you, when you were driving through the middle of the woods in Auburn in a small little car and you have the Diablo 2 soundtrack cranked,
Yep.
it's pretty creepy.
Solid.
But yeah, game soundtracks are always fun. And so many of them these days are like professionally orchestrated soundtracks.
Yep.
Like they're actual
Absolutely.
scores. So it's nice to have something that's just fun.
Yeah.
Would you play it again or play it more? Do you plan on
Yes.
progressing further?
Yes. Hopefully. I'd like to. Like I want to see the rest of it. I want to save the princess, man. I'm not gonna make it, man. He's got her and that's it. There's nothing I can do now. I might as well just go pick up all the chickens.
Go pick up the chickens.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I mean, I'll certainly play it some more. I mean, we've gone back and played Don't Starve more this week while we were supposed to be playing this. So, no, I think that our game library is going to grow, and I definitely find myself enjoying more indie games.
Good.
While I squeeze them in between Destiny and Madden and my my AAA fanboy horism.
Yeah.
But
fine.
no, it works indeed. What would you say? I know we're still kind of up in the air on how we're doing an ICF rating system. But where would you put this?
You know what? I think I'm gonna give it purely because of its translation into keyboard. I'm gonna give it a 7.
Okay.
The controls are not awesome on keyboard.
Right.
So it takes it down a little bit.
I could see that. It limits you if you don't have the controller support.
Yep.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you, but I mean, again, I guess that doesn't. I mean, where that doesn't affect me, like I could see as a personal rating there. Yeah, I mean, I would probably say a solid 8, maybe even like an 8.5ish or so. It was fun. It ran well. The only reason I really wouldn't put it any higher is because the game, for a game that came out originally in 2014, and then again the Super Turbo Edition was last year.
Yes.
It is horribly optimized.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to stream it and I had to do a couple workarounds to be able to stream it without frame rate issues.
Right.
You know, and this is coming from, streaming Battlefield 1 on Ultra. So when a game like this causes, I mean, and that's an indie thing. I mean, right now the biggest game on Twitch is PlayerUnknown's Battleground, which has horrible optimization issues.
Right.
I know nothing about programming, so I can't begin to start talking about where that might be caused. But no, for the third version of the game, and for it to be almost 5 years old, for it to have issues in that regard, I wasn't. I mean, that kind of sucked. But other than that, again, the game's fairly solid. It's fun. It's entertaining. The controls are solid. Again, on controller.
Yes.
So I think it was done pretty well.
Awesome.
So do we want to unveil what our game is for next week?
Why don't you tell them all what our next game is?
Tell everybody what our next game is. So, well, not next week, in 2 weeks. So for those that don't know, it is a bi-weekly show. So our next episode will be Monday, September 18th. Again, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time start time for those that like to watch live. So the next game that we will be doing, once I get Steam pulled back up here, is The Escapist 2. It is the recently released, August 21st is the release date, so a couple weeks old. Recently released puzzler on Steam. You play a prisoner in a prison, where prisoners usually are.
Right.
And you have to live your prison life and break out of prison while also performing prison duties. Why don't I just read this here? Risk it all to break out from the toughest prisons in the world. Explore the biggest prisons yet with multiple floors, roofs, vents, and underground tunnels. You'll have to live by the prison rules, attending roll call, doing prison jobs, and following strict routines, all while secretly engineering your bid for freedom. Your prison escape antics will take you from the frosty Fort Tundra, a train hurtling through the desert, and even to the final frontier. The beauty of Escapist 2 over Escapist 1 is now it has online co-op.
Woo.
So
We're gonna break out together. We're gonna Thelma and Louise this shit. It's gonna be great.
So it doesn't say up to how many players, I don't think. If I can... Oh, here we go. Unite with up to 3 friends online. So it is a total of 4 people, yourself and 3 friends. So if you have this game already, or if you have played the original and haven't played this yet, if you'd like to hop on and play with us and try and escape from prison with us, that would be cool. If you want to check out us playing this game over the next couple of weeks, then you can follow us on Twitch. You can follow myself at twitch.tv/xsynicx, which is XSYNEKX.
And I am at twitch.tv/Daniora, DANIORA.
So pick up Escapist 2. I think it's $19.99 on Steam. If you are somebody who is familiar with Green Man Gaming, which is just another way to get a Steam key. I think they currently have it on sale for like 10 or 15% off, so you can get it for like 16 or 17 bucks. So, but Escapist 1 was pretty solid, and it was a really fun puzzler. You can make your own inmate, do all the crazy things and whatnot. So again, adding that online element, kind of what we talked about was what I thought was missing from this, the online element. Yeah. I'm excited to kind of play that and see what that adds to the game.
So I think that's about a wrap, huh?
I think that about does it. That was definitely more solid than episode 1.
It was, but we still have to get through an outro, and that is not going to be pretty. So that's fine. I want to say thank you to our live Twitch audience. And if you are listening at home and you would like to catch us live, it is 9:30 p.m. every other Monday on twitch.tv/InkedGeekStudios. If you have a game that you want us to play, you can email us at indiecasefiles@gmail.com or tweet us with the hashtag IndieCaseFile, and we'll put it on the list. If you'd like to help support the IndieCase File and all the other great content produced by Ink Geek Studios, please consider going to our Patreon page. As Annalisa would say, give them $1. As little as $1 a month helps the studio continue to not only produce the content it's currently producing, but helps us grow. And thank you to everyone who already supports us. That's about it. And thank you so much for listening. For me, for Nate, for the rest of the Inked Geek Studios family, thanks for joining us.
This show has no outro music.
Oh, yeah.
You've been listening to an Inked Geek Studios podcast. For this and other great shows, go to inkedgeekstudios.com.